Welcome back to EDI Sports Cards. In this video, we're actually going to go over what has happened with the Oakland A's and how that's different than what happened with the Phoenix Coyotes in Arizona. So let's go over kind of where we are in the timeline. If you are not familiar with what's going on with the Oakland A's, I'm going to put a link to Brody Brazil, who is the sports broadcaster for the Oakland A's, and he has done an outstanding job on YouTube kind of going through this entire saga for practically 3 years. So there's a lot of videos, and he has put out a ton of great content. So I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can go check him out. Now, what has happened over the last couple weeks has been just like, it's like warp speed, to be honest. And it highlights how Californians and Oakland A's fans have zero freedom, and what you thought was democracy and what you thought was the power of the people is not really true. And I'm going to show you that by going over what happened with the Arizona Coyotes and the Tempe, Arizona residents in the vote that they had to turn down a $2.1 billion sports and entertainment complex. So these two projects, these mega billion-dollar projects, come together in a way that you never thought possible. So anyway, let's get back to what's going on in Oakland. So right now, the Oakland A's ownership has the potential to move to Las Vegas because the Las Vegas basically legislature has approved about $385 million to move to Las Vegas. The governor has signed that bill, and therefore the only thing that's really standing in the way is whether or not Major League Baseball owners, they need 2/3 owners to say yes, and will they waive the relocation fee for the Oakland A's, because that's going to be a huge price tag. We don't know how much, probably around $300 to $350 million, but it could be more, it could be less. Who knows what Major League Baseball will do? And over basically the last couple days, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has come out and said that the Oakland A's fans and community should be ashamed of themselves, and they're the reason why the Oakland A's are moving. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not true. That's not accurate. That's not even a good opinion as the commissioner of baseball to basically like trash an entire community. But then again, Rob Manfred is not the best at communication. Like I would say in like putting commissioners in terms of their communication skills, I would have said before those comments that Gary Bettman was the worst communicator in the entire world. But now Rob Manfred's actually competing against Bettman for that title because these comments were horrible. Anyway, let's get back to what is going on and why is Oakland actually moving, and where does that change from California to Arizona? Where does that fit in? So here's the politics. So in California, voters do not get to choose what they want with public funds. And in Las Vegas, they don't get to choose what you do with public funds. These are decisions that are made at the political level. So basically, your mayor and your city council and your legislature decide what they spend your money on, not you. And so this is very critical. Understand. So California doesn't get the vote and Las Vegas doesn't get the vote. That's different than what happened in Tempe, Arizona. Because basically, in Tempe, Arizona, so the owners went to the city council of Tempe, proposed a $2.1 billion project. Tempe said, okay, we'll pay X $100 million to put in roads and sewers and electric and all the grid, and here you go, you can develop this deal. But then the Arizona Coyotes said, well, we like that, because that's like a standard development deal, but you know what? We want more. And because we want more, we want $500 million in a tax abatement because, you know what? Why not? And so the Tempe City Council was like, well, we can't authorize that. We have to allow the voters to authorize that. And so the question became on a proposition. In fact, 3 propositions on the last ballot in April. Basically, the voters said, no deal. We're not giving you $500 million for nothing. You could go find someplace else to build your dumb arena. But see, that didn't happen in Las Vegas at all. See, the Las Vegas legislature held 3 dog and pony shows in terms of allowing the public to talk. They had a hearing, 3 hearings, in fact, in 8 days. And Brody Brazil actually brought this up, and the reason that I'm talking about it is because of his video, because he was like, that wasn't a lot of time. But Brody, you don't seem to understand. It doesn't matter. It's called a hearing for a reason. You don't matter. You don't get to vote. See, the legislature's voting on it, and they don't really care what you have to say. The only time they care is if there's going to be a lawsuit. That's the only time they care. So when a Native American group comes and like, well, you know, you can't build on that because we're going to sue you. See, when you get tied up in legal fees, that's when politicians start to get nervous. They're like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to be dragged into court, because in court you have to tell the truth. And that's the last thing an elected official wants to do, is tell the truth. So a public hearing is just a show. We held a public hearing. We listened to all the comments, and they heard them all. And there were a lot of comments about, this is a really bad deal for Las Vegas. Like, this is horrible. This is not going to do well on the Strip. The team is absolutely awful. No one is going to go. And now you're going to spend hundreds of millions of public funds for what? See, at least with the Arizona Coyotes, there's something there, and there was a possibility with the new owner that they might actually get a superstar. There is a superstar in the NHL who's from Arizona who would love to actually play for Arizona, would turn the franchise around. And the NHL is fully behind Arizona. So there's a whole different political landscape with the Arizona deal. They also weren't moving. They were trying to just find a home. So they're already here, and they're trying to find a home. With the Oakland A's, they're moving states. Like, they're not moving from Oakland to, like, San Jose. They're not moving just within the area. They're leaving the state. And I would think that the state of California elected officials would be up in arms. Like, you're losing an icon. I mean, if you want to talk about the decline of California, I mean, this is like the picture of no one should live in California anymore. It's just decimated. And it's so bad that the Oakland A's are leaving, just gone. So from a political standpoint, I would think the politicians in California got to be like super pissed off. But nobody does anything. And the difference again, so in Las Vegas, the voters didn't vote on this bill. They didn't vote on should the A's be allowed to move to Vegas or not. The voters didn't get to vote. And that's what you need to understand, is that some of the states you live in, you have no power, and that's on purpose. One of the things that's great about the Arizona Coyote deal was that it was up to the voters. So the fat cats in the front office suite at the Arizona Coyotes kind of overplayed their hand and thought they were dealing with politicians. No, you were dealing with voters, and you can't just screw voters over and think they're going to roll over and say, yeah, I like that idea. That's the difference between the Oakland A's moving to Vegas and what happened in Arizona. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you see the difference. So you need to look at where you live. And I've lived in several different states. So I've lived in New York, I lived in New Jersey, I lived in Pennsylvania, I lived in Massachusetts, I've lived in California, and I've lived in Arizona. I've lived all over. I've been all over the US. And if you bleed red, white, and blue, you're okay in my book. So I don't really care anything other than that. If you believe in this country, I'm your friend. But what you need to understand politically is, do you get to vote on these deals or not? And if you don't, you might want to start raising hell about that politicians should not be allowed to spend your money at this level. So there needs to be like a threshold. Like they can spend your money up to maybe like 100 million. But after 100 million, it has to go to public vote. It has to go to public vote. Otherwise, they will just waste your money on stuff that's never going to pan out. And there have been economic studies for 3 decades that show that every one of these arena deals is bad for business for the local community. It doesn't bring back tax revenues. It doesn't bring back economic stability. It doesn't, especially if you give tax breaks, because you said it's going to bring back tax revenue. Well, if you just gave a tax break, where's the tax revenue? And that's what was going to happen in Tempe, Arizona with the Arizona Coyotes. They were going to get a $500 million tax break. So how was Tempe, Arizona supposed to get the money back? They were going to spend 200 some odd million for infrastructure. Well, they needed to get the tax money back in order to pay for the bond for the infrastructure. If you give a tax abatement, where's that money coming from? And that's got to be what you, as watchers of the YouTube channel, I know it's sort of like EDI Sports Cards and we're talking about politics and economics and tax revenues. Yeah, but that's kind of the point, is you are a voter. You are a citizen. You have rights, and you should be able to choose what you want the government to do with your money. Oakland A's fans have no choice. Las Vegas fans had no choice. Arizona Coyote fans in Tempe had a choice. And that's what freedom really looks like. When you get to vote on how much or where they spend your money. Remember, it's not their money. It's your money. It's your tax dollars that they collected. And they decided they're going to spend it one way or another. In Las Vegas, in Nevada, the people did not choose to let Oakland come there, to let the A's come there, to move from Oakland to Vegas. So all the Oakland A's fans, the people in Oakland, understand that the people of Las Vegas didn't steal your team. The politicians and Rob Manfred and the powers at the top, they stole your team. It's not fair. It's completely not fair. And it's not based on any economics. Basically, the owners don't like Oakland. They don't like it. They hate it. They want to get out. I don't blame them because nobody likes them there. They obviously deserve the type of behavior that they get. But no one's going to like them in Las Vegas either. I mean, it's a crappy team. It's been a crappy team for 20 years. No one's going to go to their games. Like, there's a difference between going to a Golden Knights game or even going to a Raiders game. I mean, the Raiders are not that good, but it's still the NFL, and there's only 8 games. Like, there's 8 games. Like, it's not like you get a lot of time. Like, it's Sunday or Thursday night or, Monday night. Like, it's not like there's a lot of opportunities to go to a football game. So it's a whole different world. But baseball is like, when you're on a home stretch, like you could play like 5 games in a week. Who's going to all those games? This is a bad deal for Las Vegas, a bad deal for Las Vegas. And hopefully the representatives in California, hopefully they threaten Rob Manfred with the one thing they've got, which is you're going to lose your antitrust exemption. End of story. And that would be the worst thing for baseball ever, because baseball literally breaks the law every year. They're allowed to. They're allowed to because they have an antitrust exemption. But if they were under the same rules that every other professional sports leagues were under, they couldn't do what they do. It would be completely challenged in court and they would lose. But because they have an exemption, they can't even get challenged. They can't even be sued. Like, it literally just means they have a blank check to do whatever they want to do. All right, that's it. I didn't want to get too much into it. So I just figured I would explain that, the difference between what's happening with the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas and what happened with the Arizona Coyotes trying to build an arena in Tempe, Arizona. That's it. If you want, again, like I said, in the description below, you can get to see Brody Brazil's videos. They're awesome. Literally, they're awesome, and he is a great broadcaster. Want to thank everybody for joining me, and see you in the next video.